Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to have a review here of the Z-46, the Tier 9 German destroyer. This thing is somewhat of a different playstyle from the preceding Z-23, which is at Tier 8. However, this thing is a very powerful Tier 9 destroyer. It is ranked near the top or at the very top across most of the servers for average damage, win rate, average kills per game, and honestly gives the Fletcher a run for its money as the best Tier 9 destroyer, at least amongst the typical destroyers. So we're going to take a look here at the statistics of the ship, the captain skills, the equipment and consumables that I run and use, and then I'm going to give you some nice gameplay. So real quickly here for survivability, 23,050 fully upgraded. That is, of course, with survivability expert. It is at the higher end of destroyers, quite frankly, at Tier 9. However, German destroyers are notorious for taking very copious amounts of AP damage from all classes, so you do have to be careful about taking sustained fire in this thing, where that hit point total will go away very quickly. But you do have a nice advantage over, say, American and Japanese destroyers. For the artillery, this is the main change, 128mm guns. However, these are LC/41s instead of the 34s that you're used to on the Ernstgeide and the Libericht Maas at Tier 6 and 7 respectively. And as such, these guns do perform a little bit better. You have a 4-second base reload. The turrets are semi-mechanized, so they actually turn really nicely, 10 seconds for 180 degree. The AP shell damage is wonderful on a Citadel at 3,000, and the shell velocity is alright at 830 meters a second. However, unfortunately, the high explosive is very bad, 1500 max and a 7% fire chance stock, but you do have a nice range of 11 kilometers. So these guns do perform rather well. However, on this thing, it is important to note that 2 of your 3 turrets are located at the rear of the ship, much like on the Rune. For the torpedoes, you have 2 quad launchers mounted along the center line for a total of 8 torpedoes. They have a range of 10 kilometers, which is 500 meters or half a kilometer better than the Z-23, and you gain 1 extra knot of speed. However, you can see there the reload time is 68.9 seconds. I will get to that in a minute. The maximum damage on these torpedoes is still the same, 14,400. It's on the low side for Tier 9. However, again, with that really nice reload, you can kind of torpedo for days with this thing, and it feels like a mid-tier Japanese destroyer, to be honest with you, with that reload time. And, you know, these torpedoes, again, certainly aren't the best damage-wise, but you get so many of them, and you reload so quickly that they are pretty potent. Taking a look at the AA, on paper it looks okay. You have 20, 37, and of course your dual-purpose 128mm guns, but unfortunately this ship does not have the best AA, and even speccing it for BFT and AFT is really not going to do too much for you. You don't have access to defensive AA, which is something that is kind of needed for destroyers, so carriers are going to have a field day on you in this thing if they're smart. Maneuverability-wise, 39.4 knots top speed. That is with the speed flag running, so it's about 38 knots fully upgraded. 670 meter turning radius is pretty poor, and so is a 4.5 second rudder shift time. To put that into perspective, you can see here the Baltimore, 730 meters turning radius, and that's pretty good for cruisers. And then we look at something like the Edinburgh, which has 680 meters. So this thing is turning as bad as a cruiser, and while the Edinburgh and the Baltimore are very maneuverable for cruisers, certainly not the case here with the Z-46 for destroyers. And then, of course, 4.5 second rudder shift yet again is pretty bad, to be honest with you. However, the concealment is not. 5.9 kilometers fully upgraded for stealth. For comparison, the Tier 10 gearing is also 5.9. The Shimakaze at Tier 10 is also 5.9 kilometers, and, you know, you're going to be basically spotting Bensons at the same time. I think it's 5.8. So the concealment is something that is rather good on this ship. So basically you have decent torpedoes, good guns, great concealment at the expense of having poor AA and sluggish maneuverability. For the equipment, main armaments modification 1 is very important. Keeping them guns alive and torpedo tubes is a must. Hydroacoustic search modification 1 is actually really nice on the ship, and it gets that hydro time to 118 seconds, which is a very long time to be able to contest caps with. Torpedo tubes mod 3, this is the Tier 9 equipment piece that you don't have access to on the Z-23, and that's why the reload goes down from 82 seconds if you're running the captain skill on the Z-23 to getting it down to 68 on here, which is really, really nice. Of course, engines mod 1 and 2. I prefer to go with the 50% faster speed propulsion mod 2, that is, instead of the steering gears, and you will get to see evidence of that in the gameplay. And then concealment system modification 1 obviously is a no-brainer. For the consumables, I run all premium. Damage control, obviously the smoke generator, still German, still bad, 73 seconds active for. But of course, running Superintendent, you get 4 of them, and it's nice to have. Engine boost, obviously, plus 8% for the speed. And then the Hydroacoustic, 3.3 kilometer torpedo acquisition and 4.68 kilometer on the ship. Very nice Hydroacoustic, and I will be showing you an example of that on how to use it when you're contesting caps. And like I said earlier, 118 seconds if you get that Hydroacoustic equipment piece, so it is rather nice to be able to use. Taking a look at the captain skills, pretty standard for destroyers, quite frankly. Preventative maintenance, keeping the modules in check, and last stand, 2 absolute musts. For the third one, when you're upgrading, I'd go with Superintendent to get an extra speed boost, smoke, and Hydroacoustic. And then, of course, for the fourth, Concealment Expert. Once you get 10 captain's points, and then you start building on that, perks that I recommend are Survivability Expert, obviously get more hit points for each ship tier, and then of course the Torpedo Armament Expertise. This is where when you stack it on with that equipment, you can get your reload down to 68 seconds. Other ones that I don't mind recommending, Basic Firing Training, get that reload down to 3.7 seconds, so you can go with a hybrid torpedo and gunboat build. And then obviously Vigilance is not a bad choice as well if you find the rudder too sluggish. And then Adrenaline Rush. I know there's a lot of people out there that like Adrenaline Rush on everything. I particularly don't care for it on destroyers that aren't Shimakaze, but to each their own. So basically what you have here with the Z-46 is slight improvements over the Z-23 with a different gun platform. And yeah, it's honestly a great destroyer. My win rate doesn't speak for it, but every other statistic does. And also really quickly here for the upgrade path, all the hull does, as you can see on screen, is give you more hit points. So go with the range, go with the torpedoes, and then go with the hull. With the stock hull, you're still going to have 20,000 hit points with Survivability Expert. So now we're going to take a look here at some Hydroacoustic performance. Alrighty guys, we're now going to get stuck in here to a quick clip of the Hydroacoustic. I showed quite a few clips of it on my Z-23 commentary. The link for that will be provided in the description below. However, if you haven't seen that, I at least want to give you another clip here of just how potent this Hydroacoustic can be. You can see here that I'm playing on the map Tears of the Desert, or Tears of the Cruisers for those of you out there. There's a Benson and a Fletcher that are off to my port side. You can see here I am using armor piercing on these broadside destroyers. One thing that I have yet to mention is that the armor piercing against angled DDs is surprisingly effective at getting ridiculous rolls for its alpha damage. Obviously, German shells in general don't have the best penetration or Krupp values. However, if you do manage to penetrate, because they have the wonderful alpha, you're going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage, and you're also going to see that in the gameplay that's coming up for you guys as well. So you can see here, I launched my torpedoes into the smoke cloud. I have my Hydroacoustic up and active. Obviously, those Fletcher torpedoes had no chance of hitting me, and what I decided to do here is something that's a bit bold. I'm going to back up and slowly move towards the guy's smoke screen about 10-11 knots. And what's going to happen here is when he gets to 4.6 kilometers away here any second now, he's going to get picked up by my Hydroacoustic, and there we go, 4.6 kilometers away. I also have a Tashket that's off on my my bow that's going to be shooting at this guy, and then my buddy in the Fletcher is also going to be getting shots at him as well. And you can see here that he is still within my Hydroacoustic range, and now that he's shot, he is absolutely doomed. And I was able to take care of that Fletcher really easily using the Hydroacoustic, and as my next shells fly in, I'm going to secure the kill on that Tier 9 American destroyer, pick up the first blood, and right there, that was probably a bread and butter usage of the Hydroacoustic, moving into the cap, getting him lit up, and then having the team help finish off the job. Alrighty guys, taking a look now here at the gameplay that I got served up for you. I'm playing with a couple of my buddies, Lord Zath, Wargaming community contributor and fellow APOC member, and of course we also have Revan 10492. They're playing in the San Luis and the Rune, the Tier 9 French and German heavy cruisers respectively, and we're playing some domination here on the map Islands of Ice. So this replay, the only thing that's going to be missing is an offensive use of the Hydroacoustic. I'm not actually going to get any ships spotted with it in an offensive manner. However, everything else about this ship that is good, you're going to get a full force of it in this replay. This is one of my best destroyer games that I've had in the past couple of weeks, to be honest with you. And basically it's going to involve two things. You're going to see great torpedo usage, and you're going to see the armor-piercing shells doing their deadly work. Like I mentioned earlier, just because they don't have the penetration, just because they don't have the Krupp, does not mean whatsoever that they cannot deliver ridiculous alpha strikes. And you're going to see some against the two most heavily armored battleships in the game. There's going to be a pair of Yamatos in this one that are going to make their way over towards Objective Charlie, and they're certainly going to pay for the error of their ways. So I'm making a pretty typical play here, just like you would on the Z-23, moving in towards the middle cap. I'm going to get my hydro, I'm going to get my smoke, using the tools of the trade to be able to get on the cap and keep it for my team. Now, luckily for me, there are only there's only one destroyer that I'm going to have to worry about, at least in the concealment aspect, and that is the Yagumo. The other two DDs are a Tashkent and a Khabarovsk, so basically I'm going to spot those guys from miles away, figuratively speaking, and actually right here at the beginning of the game, Akaba is going to make his way in towards Bravo, and I'm going to have plenty of time to set up my ambush and get ready to go against this guy. So I enter the cap, 54 seconds left until the cap. I also have a friendly Ognavoy that's moving in as well, and I'm getting ready to launch 2 wide sets of torpedoes downrange. I like to do that at the beginning, especially when I know that there's a destroyer contesting. As you can clearly see, the timer on the bottom, or the bar I should say, is not moving. And there we go. The Khabarovsk gets spotted at 7.6 kilometers away, and I do have the AP loaded. Now, like I mentioned earlier, please note here the amount of damage that I'm going to be able to do to this guy on the broadside. The first shells are flying in, and there we go, 3,500 damage. And before he's even able to report back to me, I get my second salvo out for 2,880. So very good stuff here. I did deploy my smoke. He decides to shoot inexplicably for some reason. It appears that my buddy in the rune back there. So now I'm going to get some more shots at this guy. I'm once again keeping the armor piercing loaded. A couple of overpens for 600 damage. Oh well. But you can see here that the Khabarovsk has taken 8,600 damage from me, and basically 3 salvos that impacted him with the armor piercing. And of course, because I have my hydro active, I spot his torpedoes from a mile away, so there's really no chance of me taking any damage from them. Now, you will see right here the rather pathetic nature of the German high explosive. This is something that could happen to other destroyers as well. I'm shooting at the guy as he's running away, and you can see here I'm actually having quite a few shells that impact the ship and do 0 damage, so that's very unfortunate. However, you can see the enemy team is deploying mostly towards Bravo and Charlie. There's a Neptune 8.8 kilometers away. There's also a Baltimore about 10 kilometers away as well, so I'm going to have to be careful from that guy's radar. I am successfully capturing the base, and I'm getting ready to launch my second torpedo salvo of the game, and you can see just how quickly the torpedo is reloaded. Again, 68 seconds on the reload is very, very nice. And now I'm getting ready to launch my next salvo at that smoke screen where the Neptune, that Tier 9 British light cruiser, is hiding inside of. So we're going to see if we're going to be able to get some torpedo hits on him as well. So I'm up to 13,500 damage so far. The enemy team has captured Objective Alpha. We've captured Charlie with the gearing down there, and I am still contesting Bravo. It looks like I'm going to be able to get the cap here with 10 seconds left. You can see some Neptune shells flying over me, and unfortunately, one of the destroyers, either the Yagumo or the Khabarovsk, have gotten back on Bravo at this time. So this was a little upsetting for me. I obviously wanted to get the capture, but I'm going to stick it out here. You can see the Hydro is still running with 21 seconds left on it. More torpedoes are getting spotted by it, so that's obviously very good stuff. And like I said earlier, why I really do recommend getting that extra Hydro increase. Right now, my Hydro would be on cooldown if it were not for that equipment piece. So yeah, I really do recommend it. The torpedoes are running in on the smoke. Unfortunately, they run out of steam. Appears the Neptune was paying attention, probably had his Hydroacoustic up, I'm guessing, and he did not take any of my torpedoes. But you can see 4 seconds left on the reload, and I'm yet again getting ready to launch another salvo of torpedoes into the smoke. So I suppose the mantra with these torps are, if at first you don't succeed, well, you're probably not going to succeed the second or the third or the fourth time, but continue to try and try again. And I'm sure my torpedo hit ratio in this ship is absolutely abysmal. I've played, I think, 21 games in it over the weekend, and yeah, I haven't hit much with it, but all you got to do is get that one flooding, am I right, and get them to use their repair. Now I'm getting ready here. The smoke is back off a cooldown, looking for some shots here at the enemy Tirpitz, the Tier 8 premium German battleship. And the shells are away, and you can see here, even without basic firing training or the main battery modification 3, the 4-second reload is still pretty nice, and I actually managed to get fire on that guy as well. So that's pretty awesome. Now I'm switching to the armor piercing. This Alabama is giving me a decent bit of broadside. I'm going to try to aim for the superstructure and see what kind of damage I'm able to do. First salvo, 1,400 points of damage, not bad. Then we got some more torpedoes coming in. These ones are not detected by the Hydroacoustic. 50 seconds left until it comes back. But you can see here, all I got to do is move forward. Now this is really important. You see the way that I'm angled in the cap. I'm basically facing my butt towards the enemy ships behind me. So if I have to speed up really quickly and be able to dodge any torpedoes which are incoming, which there are plenty more of them, I'm going to be able to do so. And holy crap, that's a lot of torpedoes coming in from a whole lot of different angles, but that's why, anyway, I run the engine boost, and it looks like Tirpitz torpedoes as well. That's why I run the engine boost modification to get going and also stop really, really quickly, and it helps when your hydroacoustic, for instance, is on cooldown, and that's why right there, that really did come in handy, and there are even more torpedoes, so I decided at this point, there's no reason for me to continue to stay on Bravo. I'm not going to be able to cap it at this time, so I decided to get off, and I'm going to see what else I can do. So, unfortunately, had to get off, but oh well. We'll see if we can get it at some later point in the game. So it's 300 to 433. We are capturing objective Alpha up there with the Kagero. I'm now getting some shots here at the enemy Hydroacoustic, who has moved into the middle of Bravo. I have no idea why he did that. He is on fire. He will be dying here really shortly. And now I'm going to try to get some shots here at the Yagumo. So we'll see here what the armor piercing is going to be able to do. Unfortunately, I have one shell ricochet, but I do reset the cap, so that's awesome. Continuing to shoot the armor piercing, I now load to high explosive because I figured he was going to stay angled in. And there you see right there, 1,400 damage. Nice stuff. More shells flying in. There we go. More hits, more defend the base ribbons right here. Very nice. I do take some hits here from the Yagumo, so now I am going to turn away, and this is an engagement that I don't want to be in. You can also see that there are shells coming in from an unidentified ship that's over in the cap. I took some armor piercing, so now I'm going to throw some torpedoes downrange at the Yagumo in the smoke, and we'll see if I'm going to be able to hit that guy. My hydroacoustic is ready to go, and I have since popped my speed boost, so I am maneuvering around a little bit. That guy's aim has been pretty well, though, and as I do drop off detection, I lost a little bit more hit points than I would have liked to. But of course, since this thing has a very nice amount of hit points, I still have 15k left over. Now, what do we have here? A Neptune moving into the smoke. He probably used his hydroacoustic earlier as mentioned, so we'll see if these torpedoes are going to be able to take care of business, and maybe they'll get the Yagumo as well. We have to see. But again, the reload on them is just so nice. You can just keep throwing them out there, and if you miss them all, whatever, no big deal. Torpedoes are going in. Will I be able to manage some hits? Let's see here. 2, yep, and make that 3. There we go. A nice devastating strike on that Neptune, taking care of that Tier 9 British light cruiser. I'm up to 90,000 points of damage done so far, and we still got plenty of time and ships left to take care of, as the Yamato takes care of our Montana, so we're down 5 ships to 3. So me staying alive down here and being able to get some more shots and some more damage done is very imperative. And I am going to swing back to B at some point. My buddies in my division are moving up towards Alpha. They're going to deal with that Tashkent, hopefully, and then be able to swing down. But yeah, I'm very happy that that Neptune moved in. I don't think he was ready for that. And German torpedoes have pretty decent detectability ranges on them as well. I think it said 1.4, but please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But either way, these are not Japanese torpedoes, as I'm sure plenty of you are aware that they have absolutely atrocious detectability ranges. But yeah. Very nice kill right there. So now I'm going to continue to fire the high explosive here at the Tirpitz. He continues to burn. He did use his damage control, so I'm going to continue to spam the HE. Again, a 7% fire chance isn't the best, but hopefully RNG will toss me a bone, and we'll see here. I'm going to continue to shoot at this guy. You can also see the very pathetic high explosive damage. A couple of those shells were only hitting, or those couple salvos for only 248. There you go, once again. But he is on fire, so hopefully I'm going to be able to take care of that guy. But again, the rather pitiful alpha damage on the high explosive shells not coming in handy right there. You can see here, however, this is the point of the game where I'm about to go ham with the armor piercing and the torpedoes. There's 2 Yamatos, one full health, the other almost, that are moving their way into Charlie here. My buddies are moving down now from Bravo, so we're going to be able to get that cap, so we're still doing okay. The fire continues to rage on the Tirpitz. I'm about to crack 110,000 points of damage. The Yagumo gets spotted very briefly. I'm going to snap a shot off with the armor piercing. Hopefully I'll be able to hit that guy and reset the cap. And there we go. I managed to get 2 more defend cap ribbons. Very good stuff here. And now you're going to see the absolute potency of this armor piercing on a target that really has not been saturated by any whatsoever. There we go. 3,200 damage on the side of that Yamato, and 2 salvos sandwiched in between, 1,980. Now, what you're going to see here is notice where I'm aiming and notice where the shells are hitting. I'm not trying to aim for the bow. I'm not trying to aim for the turrets. 3,960. I'm aiming right for the middle of the, I guess, the superstructure and a little bit below, above the main belt armor along the waterline, but just slightly below the superstructure. And if those shells manage to fall in right in that sweet spot, you can see right where those shells landed on that last salvo, you're going to be able to do a pretty decent amount of damage for every salvo that goes down range. range, and with a 4-second reload, this is not bad whatsoever. I managed to pick up the Confederate, which is awesome. And you can see there more shells are flying in. I'm trying to find that sweet spot, and again, once you do so, you can just rack up the damage here. And this is something that, you know, I don't think a lot of people really think of. I managed to land a torpedo hit and flood the other Yamato, so pretty awesome right there, right as those were about to run out of steam. Another 2,500 point salvo right there, and now I'm going to switch my focus here to the other enemy Yamato as I load the high explosive. I'm up to 164,000 points of damage if you haven't taken a look at the damage counter recently, and a lot of it has been with the armor piercing. And once again, I'm about ready to switch back to it here as the mediocre fire chance, and I'm also hitting the turret, so my aim has been off a little bit, and I decide that even though I haven't started to fire, once more, the armor piercing is going to be able to do some business here. And there we go, more shells flying in, going to try and hit that nice meaty part, 3,960, very nice salvo right there, 3,960 yet again. This is some exciting stuff, 2,280, the damage is just racking up here, 5,940, I shit you not, as I pick up the high caliber, and another 3,000 damaging salvo right there. So I'm now switching my focus to the Yagumo. The armor piercing is just insane, the damage that you can do. And again, with that nice reload of 4 seconds, it is rather good. I land a torpedo on the first Yamato, managed to flood him, and then I hit a second one on the other guy. 214,000 points of damage done. Is now I'm switching my focus to that Yagumo who is firing at me from the cover of his smoke screen. Just throwing some blind shots in here, and you know what? I'm staying in the open. It's not a big deal. I still got 14,000 hit points, and it appears that the Yamato is not even bothering to shoot at me, so I'm going to continue to blind fire into the smoke. There we go. Managed to get one hit. Another high explosive salvo out. Will I be able to get the kill? Yes, indeed. Get my third kill of the game on that Tier 9 Japanese destroyer, and I once again switch my focus back to the Yamato. 217,000 points of damage. Holy crap. You just saw there the AP on the side, and I understand those Yamatos were not the smartest bunch in the world, but this German AP, it's just like on the cruisers. If you can get a broadside and you can pump it out, absolutely take advantage of it. Even Yamatos, Currywursts, Montanas are not safe from these armor-piercing shells, and I think this replay more than speaks for itself, as this is just a ludicrous amount of damage, especially for a destroyer. Even a Tier 9 one, just absolutely ridiculous. However, I do get a little too greedy right here, and I continue to shoot well out in the open. I do have a smoke that I could potentially use. You can see, once again, great armor-piercing damage. However, you're going to see here, just like I mentioned in the port, yeah, the German destroyers really don't take very good to taking armor-piercing hits from any caliber. And of course, the Yamato does Yamato things right there with its armor-piercing shells, but took about 9,000 unnecessary points of damage. Again, literally for no reason. I was just greedy and wanted to continue to shoot out in the open. So a very nice shot by him as I popped my next smoke, my last smoke that is, and I'm continuing to shoot at him from the cover of my smoke screen now, but unfortunately, I'm not going to get a fire here shortly. And actually, I'm a little afraid that he's going to blind fire into the smoke, so that's why I held my fire a little bit right there, but his attention has turned back to my buddy in the rune, Rivon, who is moving in there on him. And it's actually kind of funny real quickly here. He went with a manual, or he's working towards a manual secondary build, or manual AA build, excuse me, but Rune actually has a decent pair of secondaries, and something pretty funny is going to happen here really quickly. But anyway, you can see I'm continuing to shoot at that guy. The armor piercing not doing as well when he's angled, and also the high explosive not doing very well at all at any angle, just because it's German high explosive, and that's what you have to get used to. Now, I'm not saying that you should be using armor piercing on literally everything. There is a time and place for the high explosive, but I'd say that when you're shooting at stuff, maybe like 60-40 armor piercing to high explosive usage. So I'm up to 228,000 points of damage, which, again, is absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason a Tier 9 destroyer should have to do this much damage, but I was able to hold my own down here while my buddies were taking care of A and B, and yeah, this is just the ridiculous power of the Z-46. Absolutely ridiculous. So the game is about to end here. The Yamato, it appears, is burning. My buddy is continuing to go after that guy, and you can see that his secondaries are continuing to shoot at him. Now I'm going to get even more ballsy here, and I'm going to continue to shoot at this guy. Get a couple more salvos out. Shells are falling in, and I do, once again, that magic number of 248. The Yamato continues to burn. You can see the Rune's secondary turret in the front continues to shoot at that guy, so we'll see if he's going to be able to get the kill here. Who knows? He is on fire. More shells, secondary shells flying in, and yes, he manages to get the kill with the secondaries, and the game is about to end here on Islands of Ice. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 530,000 credits received and 4,600 total XP. Picked up Confederate Devastating Strike on the Neptune and High Caliber. 228,000 points of damage off of 406 shell hits and 6 torpedoes. I started 4 fires, sank 3 enemy ships, and managed to get 9 base defense ribbons. Taking a look at the team score, what a game. 3,091 base XP. Any game over 3K is absolutely glorious, and I was able to manage this, and I believe this was my 19th game of the weekend in this ship. So a wonderful performance in the Z-46. Going to take a look also here at the detailed report. 25,000 damage, very paltry number done with the high explosive. 95,000 damage done with the armor piercing, 64,000 with the torpedoes, and 38 and 4 for a total of 42 other with the fires and the flooding. So the majority of the damage was still done with the AP and the torpedoes, and that was the main point of this replay, to show you guys just how ridiculous this stuff is. And yeah, the Z-46 is a wonderful destroyer. If you decide to take a look at my stats, don't let my current win rate in the ship fool you. It's like 52%. I had a little rough go of games over the weekend, but of course it is the I think, triple experience weekend, so yeah, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, the Z-46 is a wonderful destroyer, and I hope this review and commentary showed you guys how exactly to play this thing, and I really enjoy this ship. And I hope you guys will take what you've learned in this and be able to apply it to your game as well. So with that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or possibly subscribing to the channel. All of it is very much appreciated. And with that being said, have a fantastic day.